Let me bring up this mainstream media stuff because someone actually just chatted this, and I had the New York Times pulled up. I want to go through what the media's been saying, but this CNN article is one of the most egregious violations of the truth. What? CNN writes, Kyle Rittenhouse testifies he knew Joseph Rosenbaum was unarmed when he fatally shot him. That is completely immaterial. It was a small second of this massive trial, and this is what the media does. They pull snippets. This is also an interesting point, though. Many people thought it was crazy they put Kyle Rittenhouse on the stand. There were a few points he made that could not have been admitted as evidence unless he testified, and that's why people think maybe that's why they put him on the stand. One was that Rosenbaum had threatened his life on 2 occasions, and that he knew that the Zeminski guy was armed, and he testified he heard the gunshot as he was running and turned. What the prosecutor is trying to do is falsely frame as much as possible. Now, I noticed a lot of people asking why the defense wasn't objecting to the insane questions of the prosecutor. Some have suggested the prosecutor's line of questioning were so absurd, it's prejudicing the jury against him. He kept asking the same question over. He asked the same question like 5 times. And every time Kyle would answer him, he'd say, I'll ask you again. When you were going, he was doing things like, you wanted to kill those people. And Kyle goes, I didn't want to kill anybody. And he goes, I'll ask you again. You went out there because you wanted to kill those people, right? And he goes, I didn't want to kill anybody. He asks the question again. What the heck? Over and over again.
Yeah, he was bringing up video games. He was trying to insinuate that video games are akin to killing people.
Right. No, he said, don't you play Call of Duty with your friend Dominic Black? And he's like, I mean, maybe sometimes. And he goes, and isn't the point of that game to take these rifles and kill people? And then he was like, video games aren't real life.
And then he started talking about AR-15s being prominent in the video game, and Kyle was like, well, there's a lot of other firearms. There's pistols and shotguns in there as well. But he was like, but AR-15s are the most prominent ones. They're like, no.
Shovels.
And a lot of people were saying that it was almost as if the term and concept of an AR-15 was on trial, since how much it was brought up, how much it was talked about.
Let me show you how CNN frames this. This is not an opinion piece. This is CNN's factual news. They say, Kyle Rittenhouse testified Wednesday that he acted in self-defense when he fatally shot a man who had thrown a plastic bag at him and chased him last year in Kenosha, Wisconsin, in what is likely to be the pivotal testimony of his homicide trial. Quote, I didn't do anything wrong. I defended myself, he testified. But in cross-examination, Rittenhouse said that he knew the man, Joseph Rosenbaum, was unarmed when he ran at the teenager. Rittenhouse said he pointed his rifle at Rosenbaum in an attempt to deter him, adding that he knew pointing a rifle at someone is dangerous. False. That was leading questions from the prosecution. The prosecution said, did you point your weapon at Rosenbaum? Well, yeah, of course he did. And you did that because you wanted him to know you would kill him and you meant business. And then Kyle, of course, says, I didn't want to kill him. I didn't want to do it. He keeps getting asked. What CNN is doing is they're taking statements from the prosecution that Kyle either passively agreed with or said, I guess, and they're acting like he himself said it. Quote, he was chasing me. I was alone. He threatened to kill me earlier that night. I didn't want to have to shoot him. I pointed it at him because he kept running at me and I didn't want him to chase me. You see, they select all of the worst possible quotes from Rittenhouse. He said that he feared Rosenbaum, who did not touch his body at all that night, would take his gun and kill people, omitting the fact that I believe it was the medical forensics medical examiner who said Rosenbaum's hand was on the gun, and Kyle Rittenhouse who said he grabbed my gun. The prosecution then said, but he didn't touch your body, and Kyle was like, right. And now CNN takes that to falsely frame exactly what happened. Let me pull up this New York Times real quick. They say key moments from Kyle Rittenhouse's testimony. One of the things they say. Thomas Binger, the lead prosecutor, pressed Mr. Rittenhouse about why he aimed a rifle at Joseph Rosenbaum, who had run toward him but was unarmed. You wanted him to get the message from you that if you come any closer, I'm going to kill you. That's why you pointed the gun at him. Mr. Rittenhouse said he did not want to kill Mr. Rosenbaum, though he believed Rosenbaum was trying to disarm him. Quote, if I would have let Mr. Rosenbaum take my firearm from me, he would have used it and killed me with it and probably killed more people. So respect to the New York Times for putting that quote in right at the top. Yeah, that was important.
But New York Times, Julie Bosman states Grosskreutz, a paramedic from West Dallas, Milwaukee suburb, was shot in the arm by Rittenhouse. She says that he was holding a handgun pointed in the air when Rittenhouse shot him from a short distance away.
Lie.
So that was at she tweeted that at, I copied it at 5:15 p.m. Then I tweeted at her, you should probably delete this, and at 5:15 p.m. she deleted it.
Well, good.
Right.
Look.
But she tried to put it out there until she was fact checked on it. She wasn't actually doing her job. She was making things up until the tweet started to go viral, and people were like, why are you lying?
There are two stages to this. We should absolutely criticize people who are incompetent, which is a large portion of the Twitterati, the progressives, and the media. When she puts out a false statement like that, that's very serious. During the prosecution, during the trial, the prosecution wanted to bring up video on an iPad, and they wanted to pinch to zoom. And the defense objected, saying that Apple's iPad uses artificial intelligence 3D enhancing logarithms to change the image. And I tweeted out that was insane and stupid because like the image interpolation is a very simple thing. As you expand it, a program, machine learning basically tries to fill in gaps that are missing. It's not 3D. It's not artificial intelligence. That's still, and then people were like, Tim, you're making fun of boomers trying to explain something. And I was like, okay, I'll delete it. I have no problem that people make mistakes. And there's a lot of journalists, so you'll see a lot of mistakes. But we should absolutely criticize if I said something wrong, people did, and I said, okay, I'll accept it. When she puts out fake information, she'll accept it. We should not tolerate it, but we'll be nice about when they do bad jobs. They should not remain in those positions if they're that bad. But the next degree is like CNN, falsely framing, cherry picking quotes, and manipulating the narrative, or NPR claiming that Grosskreutz testified his hands were in the air when he was shot, when he testified to the defense that it was only after he pointed the gun at Rittenhouse. That is egregious. When MSNBC put out a video where they say Grosskreutz testified his hands were up, then they show a clip of something totally irrelevant. That is intentionally trying to manipulate people. That's the second level of that.
Jeffrey Toobin was also on CNN. Jeffrey Toobin, if you don't know who he is, he's the guy who spanked it to his coworkers on Zoom. And he was on CNN, and he literally said, quote, Kyle is an idiot. Which I think is just, I mean, that's the type of level of commentary you expect from CNN. But still, even when it happens, it's still surprising to see it as that blatantly out there right in front of your face, because truly what they're doing is a huge disservice. And people who are paying attention, watching the trial, are getting a totally different perspective than people who, of course, are just editorializing and commenting about it like Toobin was.
I think Kyle had a hard time on the stand. He answered a lot of questions very, very well. So the prosecution, when the defense was doing the direct with Kyle Rittenhouse, Kyle, of course, he's probably worked this out with the defense, answered the questions. He did a really good job. He explained, why he was there, what his goals were. When it came to cross-examination with the prosecutor was just badgering him and caught him up in a few instances. And now the New York Times says Mr. Rittenhouse struggled to give clear answers to questions about why he brought his gun as he ran towards the car lot with a fire extinguisher, the event that immediately preceded the shooting of Mr. Rosenbaum. I'm watching the testimony, and one of the questions he asked was, after the protesters cleared away from this area, why did you walk directly in this direction instead of going around them? And I'm like, that's a question that can only be asked in hindsight. And Kyle didn't have a good answer because he never thought about it, and he's on the spot. And that's why it was a huge risk to put him on the stand, because that question is garbage, nonsensical. Yeah. He was like, why did you have your gun? What were you trying to be protected? Like, he asked him, why were you looking for Ryan Balch? And Kyle was like, because you're safer in Paris. Safer from who? And it's just like, Kyle didn't have good answers for this. But I think he's 18. He's not experienced, and this is why it's a risk to put him on the stand. If he was sharper, if he was quicker, he could have said something like... Because
there was rioters and arsonists and people doing violence all over the place?
Because criminals exist.
Yeah.
Because when you go out on the streets for any reason, you're safer with another person, regardless of whether or not there's a riot or a protest.
So many of these questions strike me as being in the same vein of, why did you wear that miniskirt out at night, young lady?
Yep. So one of the issues was when he was asking Kyle, like, why did you bring a gun? It's like... because someone might attack me. Who? I don't know. But Kyle actually had a really good answer. He said, you brought the gun. The prosecution said to Kyle, asked him, why did you bring the gun? And Kyle says, I thought I needed protection. And then he said, protection from whom? And Kyle said something to the effect of, I didn't think I would need to use protection. And then the prosecutor goes, I'm confused. You said you needed protection. Now you're saying you didn't. And Kyle very quickly and very, very on point, sharp said, I thought I needed to bring protection, but I didn't think I would need to use it. And that was really, really good. But when you have a prosecutor who's asking the same question 50 times,
right,
you now give the media the opportunity to say he couldn't answer. Kyle was like getting confused and saying, I don't understand your question. One of the things Binger said was that hollow point bullets, when they're fired into somebody, explode. And Kyle's like, what? And the judge was like, what? Like, what are you talking about? It seems like a Gish Gallop. Are you familiar with a Gish Gallop?
I have literally never heard that in my life.
It's a debate tactic where you throw as much garbage at someone so that they look like they can't answer the question properly. So instead of asking a question in a debate like, is 2 + 2 4? You go, look, 2 + 2 = 5, and 2 + 2 = 6, and 3 - 7 is 22, and you know it's 22, and now we have 7 - 3 is 4, and your opponent goes, oh, wait, what did you say? What? And the goal is to make you look confused to the audience, or
I don't know. Are these common tactics, generally speaking, when doing a cross-examination of witness like this, or is this specific to this case because they don't have a real case and they're trying to use these psychological tactics?
Well, I mean, I think they're just fishing. They're trying to throw out as much as they can, see what they could get back. I mean, being cross-examined like that for hours is difficult. It's not easy. So, I mean, just watching the case, it really looked like let's just keep throwing something at it. Let's see if we get something back. And, you know, if you're a state prosecutor, they're going to do everything in their power. They're going to take as much time as they want to, of course, try to beat up the witness, beat up the person being questioned, and try to literally break him. That's a tactic used by many people in cross-examinations. Just keep berating him, keep beating him, keep asking him the questions to see maybe it's an interrogation tactic too, to keep asking the same question but in different formats.
Sure, and you start off by asking them like something that you know is an affirmative. Did you do that? Yes. Did you walk over here? Yes. And you get them in the habit of saying,
yep.
I have given testimony under oath a number of times, depositions in court and whatnot. And with some lawyers, you know, in my mind, I know where they're going and I can answer honestly and still sort of, you know, screw with them and win the game. But I am not 18 years old. I am not on the stand fighting for my life. I am not being accused of murder. That has got to be an extraordinarily stressful circumstance.
There was an amazing point where they freeze frame a moment when Gage Grosskreutz was attacking him. They freeze frame it, and in the still, Rittenhouse's gun is pointed forward towards the legs of Gage Grosskreutz, how you pronounce the name, whose hands are up, and then he's like, he's not pointing a weapon at you, but you're pointing a weapon at him. And then Kyle Rittenhouse says, it's a freeze frame. I believe if you play the video, you'll see I'm actually lowering the weapon. And I was like, wow, like Kyle actually did a pretty good job on the stand. However, it's the James Bond technique. If you ask a woman to hook up 30 times, this is literally the James Bond jokes from Family Guy. Ask the woman 30 times and she says no. When she finally says yes, James Bond looks at the camera and goes, 30 no's and 1 yes means yes. That's the James Bond joke. But the point is, that's what abusers do. They know that they can ask you the question 20 times until you finally get confused and say what they need, and then they can put that on the record and then go to the jury and say, remember when he testified X? It's like, yeah, after you ask the same question 50 times and confused him, that's a tactic. They don't have a case. The crazy thing, I'll say it again, was when the defense actually stated to the judge that the prosecutors either have forgotten the rulings of the judge or are purposefully trying to trigger a mistrial because they know they have no case and they don't want this to go before the jury. The defense actually said that to the judge. Massive.
Now, what does it mean when can the judge, and we're not lawyers, but can the judge receive a motion and not rule on it?
So one of the things the judge said, so they wrapped up about, I think, Eastern time, 5:40 or so. The judge was actually contemplating bringing another witness, but he said, it's a little late. Why don't we come back tomorrow first thing in the morning? We'll dismiss the jury. And he said to the defense, I'll get you my preliminary. No, I won't promise that, but we'll see what happens. So I think the judge is going to issue a ruling on the motion. So, but I'm not a lawyer. I have no idea. You're better off, listening to lawyer commentary. That's just what the judge said about a preliminary ruling on it. Thanks for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. If you want to watch live, you can check out this channel Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Now, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, and if you want more unfiltered and uncensored content with all of these guests, go to timcast.com and become a member. All of these guests you know and love in exclusive segments on our website where we are unrestricted in what we talk about, so you'll definitely not want to miss it. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you all next time.